Everybody, it's Carson Gourdie, the Fox Illinois sports anchor over in Champaign. I went to the University of Illinois, big U of I fan, but this week we got two Oregon Ducks in Central Illinois. We got Stacy Skrizak and we also got Darian Leeds. You guys have made Central Illinois your home. You know, great careers, great families. How did you guys become Duck fans?
I've been a Duck fan for 98. When was 98? 20, a long time ago. We'll just say 25 plus years, because that's where I went to college. Go Ducks. I was there, at the start of really the excitement of just seeing, Coach Bellotti and the Joey Harrington years, and really as they started to rise and create the O and really become successful. So I have been a diehard fan, wearing my Gore-Tex jacket in the Pacific Northwest rain for a long time watching games.
And so for me, it was kind of end of Joey Harrington. It was more when LaMichael James was there, very high powered offense. I think I just kind of fell in love. They could score at will. And I really like to kind of see them go fast. Running back's probably one of my favorite positions. So, I mean, they've had stables of running backs come through there, some of them just fast as lightning. DeAnthony Thomas, Royce Freeman, some of my big favorites. But I was always kind of a fan of just that high speed offense and running up scores on people. And that was kind of what sold me on being a Duck fan.
What
Was
about the flashy uniforms?
that too. And I love the uniform combinations. I mean, they're endless. Phil Knight went to University of Oregon, so they've got Nike in their back pocket and everything. But yeah, the uniforms are just a added bonus.
Oregon has been a scary program because back in the early 2000s, right, it was USC, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. You go to 2009, once Oregon took advantage of that Nike money and, all the kids started loving those uniforms, they became the face of the West. And, it does seem like you speak about like Marcus Mariota and DeAnthony Thomas scoring a bunch of points. I just from the outside looking in, it seems like Dan Lanning has potentially elevated this program. What have you guys seen from Dan and what have you guys liked?
Well, I think that it started, yes, with the uniforms and stuff, but I really think it was with Coach Chip Kelly. Honestly, when that which was '09, which was when the punch heard around the world with Boise State and LeGarrette Blunt, go Ducks, and after that, I mean, the success that they had, went to the national title, lost to Auburn by a field goal, and then we're just on the rise from there. But Dan Lanning, I mean, that's we've gone through years of some difficult times. We thought Willie Taggart coming in and thinking, okay, well, this is an up and comer, and Slick Willie is not so great, as we know. And then from there, getting Cristobal, thinking, okay, this guy, he just loves it. He said he will never leave. Yet they're his alma mater, Miami, and he just leaves, within 2 years. So I think there was a little hesitation with Dan Lanning, just wondering, okay, who's this young guy? But man, he is good. He is. When you hear from the players, and you hear from, in the last, this is, I believe, his third year, you hear from the players, you hear from the families, you hear from the recruits about what this is. It's like becoming a family. And that's what you want in your locker room. You want as your team. And you're going to have much more success than, any animosity. And this guy is really bringing everyone together. Plus the recruits.
Right. I mean, he's put together what we've got the best recruiting class ever coming in for next season.
Yeah, 2025. Yeah.
He's been stealing recruits from other schools here recently, commits that have said they're going to Baylor and SEC schools. And now you see those guys are now headed to Eugene, Oregon. I was always afraid of new coaches coming in, Chip Kelly to Helfrich, there wasn't too much of a drop off. Cristobal, I feel like they kind of slowed down a little bit, but still very high powered. But Dan Lanning kind of seems to have brought that back. And also the defense seems to be even stronger, I would say, underneath him. And a lot of the defensive recruits that we've got coming through. Producing a lot of defensive line talent for the NFL as well, with DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, I see that defense continuing to elevate. The offense has always kind of been there, but now I feel like they're kind of firing on all cylinders on both sides of the ball.
Well, and Dan Lanning has that defensive background. I mean, he was
Right.
the coordinator over at the national title Georgia, and then left there to take up Oregon. So I think he is bringing what was needed and what was missing a lot of times over the years, especially with Chip Kelly and even before that with Mike Bellotti, was that defense. We didn't have that SEC, that Big Ten defense, and I think we showed in the last couple weeks with shutting out Purdue, and then a really good win against Ohio State and their defense that we can play with the big boys.
Right. And I mean, he's a disciple of both Nick Saban and Kirby Smart.
Hmm.
So he's got the skill set, and it seems like he's been kind of proving it this season.
That was definitely a thing with, Mark Helfrich, who's the guy that took over for Chip Kelly. Like, yeah, they could score, but they started giving up, that was 35 points per game. You guys said it brilliantly. Like, yeah, Lanning came in with the SEC background and he built up the trenches and they're beating the crap out of people. And, everybody always talks about is Dan Lanning going to be a coaching candidate for somewhere else? Because Oregon, unfortunately for you guys, has just been the greatest coaching carousel ladder climbing job on the planet. Like NFL jobs, Miami, Florida State. I had Joel Klatt's a guy for like Fox Sports, and he went golfing with Dan Lanning, and he's like, "You ever gonna leave?" And Lanning was like, "Why would I leave? I got everything." And he's like, "I
As he
got
says,
the
the
NIL.
grass is damn green in Eugene.
Oh, yeah.
You got that. You got the Nike money. Like, is this a guy that you think he's gonna build a home at Oregon? Like, is he here for the long haul?"
You
I
know,
think
I
so.
oh yeah, you go on.
I mean, they always say actions speak louder than words. I mean, everybody can say, whatever they're going to say. But the fact that he's actually doing what he said he's going to do, even when the rumors last year were that Alabama was recruiting him to come and take over for Nick Saban, and he squashed that. He posted a screenshot of his location in Eugene and was like, nope, I'm not on a plane. I'm not in Tuscaloosa. Like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And then, they go out and grab the guy from Washington, Kalen DeBoer. Um, I'd love him to stay for, another or a national championship run, an actual national championship. And I think he could be the coach that finally brings it.
Oh, I think he will be. I do. I think that looking at him as a family guy, I mean, I've been hurt too many times over the decades with all, I will say on the record, Carson, Helfrich is a much better commentator. He's great on what is he, Fox Sports. He's much better there than he was as a coach at Oregon because he kind of drove that program with poor Herbert down into the ground. But beside that, I think Dan Lanning, all you had to see is any of these national pieces, some amazing stories, articles about him and his family. And that's what makes me think he might stay and he might really believes in the program. You look at his family, you look at all that his family has been through, his wife with her cancer, and just their movement and their young children and how much they are involved in the Eugene community. And being a parent myself, I want to believe it. So I am for now. We'll see. But I think that he is probably the best coach we've had coming in a long, long time.
I can tell you, I think Alabama wants another crack at him instead of Kalen
Oh yeah,
DeBoer.
I don't think he would go there. So
And it just this year, I mean, Oregon is number one in the country. Huge win against Ohio State. Just what makes this team so special, and what do you expect on Saturday? Hosting Illinois. Illinois has had a good year, but they are big 21-point underdogs.
yeah, I think that you know what this year it's a weird year because we came in with so much hype surrounding the starting the Big Ten or joining the Big Ten, I should say, but also this hype around being a preseason. What was it, number 3 or 4? There was that, and then those first 2 games. I remember, I mean, talking to my friends, my Oregon Duck friends, my sorority sisters out west, going, "Well, this is not what we expected. This is not going to be the year." And watching how they came over that adversity and that terrible O line and making the adjustments that they needed. And I think you've seen that over the last several weeks. Just that Michigan State game, then the Ohio State game, that, yeah, they can keep up and they can succeed and they can win. And then shutting out Purdue. And you just kind of, if you put those teams together where you look at the Oregon going to Purdue and, the statistics that, traveling 2 time zones, has not been boded well for any of the Big Ten teams, yet they shut out Purdue. Yet Purdue, it took overtime for Illinois to beat them at home. So I do think that there is going to be some difficulties, but I do want to say I have followed Illinois for a long time. I followed Bielema. I mean, I watched him at Wisconsin with his success years ago. I've been a diehard football fan for a long time, and he is what he's doing with the program. It's amazing to see. And I'm sure, Carson, we've talked a lot about it over the last year. Remember towards the end of last year, how we were like, everyone's talking about what's the buyout for him? This is not going well. And then you look at the success. And I mean, if I was not cheering for Oregon, I am rooting for Illinois. I hope it's a good game because I love seeing Altmaier having that success. I love that team, the sellouts that, you think of Illinois as a basketball school, not a football school. And it's just so fun. You're an alum there. I love seeing it. So, I mean, I hope there is success. I think that they have a lot going for them. Do I think that they have a chance? There's always a chance. Look at what happened with Alabama and Vanderbilt. And, there is that chance. But I hope for my sake, Autzon's going to be rocking and really loud.
Yeah. No, and I definitely think it's one of those years where, you're right. I mean, last year people had concerns about Brett Bielema. They went 5-7. They had those big expectations. But I think one good similarity with Dan Lanning and Brett Bielema is that they take advantage of those opportunities and they're willing to buckle down. We're seeing college football coaches all around the country complain about the recruiting, we're complaining about the transfer portal, complaining about NIL. Brett and Lanning aren't doing that. Lanning is getting the best recruiting classes. He's getting that Phil Knight money. Brett Bielema is publicly asking for donors to get more money because he just sees how important it is how college football is changing. I think these are two programs in really good hands right now.
And yeah, I was going to say, like Stacy said, when I'm not cheering for Oregon, I've got those Illinois games on my TV. It was a real kind of roller coaster ride from 2 years ago with Chase Brown at running back, just falling short of beating Michigan that year, going to a bowl game. And then last year, obviously a very disappointing season for the Illini, but they're coming back around this year. They went into Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, they took that game to overtime too, but they came out on top with that. Penn State, that was a real tough game. But yeah, Illinois kind of continued to shine, even though that Purdue game, everything looked great going into halftime. They held Purdue to 9 passing yards in 2 quarters. And then come the third and fourth quarter, it was like the Illinois defense, I don't know what happened in the locker room, but they were just letting anything and everything go by them. Those deep shots down the field that Purdue was taking, one play and they're already at like the 10-yard line and knocking on the door. So, I mean, they let Purdue swing almost 50 points back on them in 2 quarters time. I mean, in 4 quarters against Oregon, I mean, with how high powered they are, I mean, I could easily see the score being in the 40s, 50s for the Ducks and, a lot lower for Illinois. But, anything can happen. Like Stacy was saying, it's just all going to see what plays out.
For Illinois, I think a couple keys is they got to get that pressure. Oregon, I mean, the first 2 games, I don't know what the heck happened against Idaho, Potato Vandals, but they were getting sacks. And then all of a sudden, now Oregon's one of the best offensive lines in the country. But that's going to be key for Illinois. You got to get pressure. That's what they did against Michigan last week. They're going to have to handle that crowd noise. We've seen on Twitter, I don't know if a lot of Big Ten fans are aware of this Oregon atmosphere. It's only 54,000 fans, but the way that stadium is structured, it amplifies the noise. Barry London, the offensive coordinator, he was talking about it on Monday. Every coach talks to him. It's like rinse and repeat. Oregon Stadium is a madhouse. So that's going to be key for Illinois to handle that noise. And they're going to have to be able to run the ball. When you're able to run the ball, that opens up the passing game and makes it easier for Luke Altmaier in the road environment. Oregon's got a really good defense this year. I mean, they're not giving up a lot of yards, but maybe sometimes Purdue got 200 yards, maybe Ohio State got a couple chunk plays. Illinois is going to have to be able to run the ball. That's going to be the key if they want to win this game. What do you guys kind of think? What are the keys for the Ducks this week?
Oh, I was going to say Illinois, I will say, just lost Caden Fagan. And I think he's been one of their most productive running backs this year. They lost what's-his-face last year. He went over to Purdue. He put up some decent numbers on Oregon last week. But I mean, Oregon, I think, just needs to go out there, play their game. The offensive line has been looking very strong.
Mhm.
Dylan Gabriel, no turnovers. Keep doing what they always do. Tez Johnson, our other wide receivers are looking very talented this year. I mean, they were easily burning past that Ohio State secondary, where we were getting, if we weren't catching the ball for big gains, we were getting pass interference calls, and that was still taking us down the field. Jordan James, great running back, and they've got Noah Whittingham in the backfield as well. They also return punt kick returns, so they're dangerous on special teams as well. They've got that track speed. But I think just go out, play their game, and honestly, I don't know if Illinois secondary is going to be able to keep up with some of those wide receivers.
I think consistency is the key for Oregon. I think that a lot of those early games you saw, there were a lot of penalties, not only the sacks that we had, I mean, more in what, 1 or 2 games than we did all last season, I think. But I think it's the making sure there aren't the penalties. I think it's going to take, several interceptions by Dylan Gabriel or some major slip ups for Illinois to have a shot. But, anything's possible. As we've seen, this year has been a crazy year with college football. So Illinois, everyone has a chance. They've got a chance. I mean, but going into Autzen and going, I had gone to every single game in college, and that was 20 something years ago. It's gotten even louder over the years. So it's just a very difficult place to play.
A couple Rose Bowl victories probably helps that. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great program so far. So what are we going to wager, guys? If Illinois wins, you guys have to shave your heads, and if Oregon wins, I'll shave mine.
We did the head shaving
Let's make
thing
that straight up
for
bet.
I'm not sure
and
if that's allowed in my
Illinois.
contract, but we've got to do something. I do have all of my Illinois gear. So we go to Illinois games. My kids love that. Now they do know I've trained them very well, especially my husband's a Husker fan, so born and raised in Nebraska.
Rest
So
in peace to Nebraska. I'm sorry, by the way, recently. That Indiana game. Sheesh.
Well, that just shows you, by the way, Indiana, this no-name coach that comes in and I mean, the success he is having with the transfer portal and what he's capable, it shows you that any coach, any team can do that. I mean, it's insane, but amazing to see. It's a fun story. Will I think that they're going to continue? I don't know. They've got a tough schedule down the road. But I've trained my kids. They know that they wake up and they say "Go Ducks." But if I say ILL, they'll say I and I. They know. So you tell me. We got to wager something.
We'll come up with something. And
Right.
just to leave it off, both teams got favorable schedules. So after this game, so win or lose for both, it could be a pretty fun year for both the Ducks in Illinois. But that's going to wrap it up, everybody. Thank you. I'm Carson Gourdie, Darian Leeds, Stacy Skryzak. I thought this was a fun Duck Illinois preview. Didn't expect this game 10 years ago as a Big Ten conference game.
No.
Did I expect this to be a top 20 matchup at the beginning of the season? No. This is
Right.
great. I love it.
Gotta love Big Ten football. All right. Well, hey,
Yeah.
thanks guys for coming on.
All right.
Absolutely.
Don't miss a video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today for more Central Illinois news.